morning, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Valley Beth Shalom. We're going to begin our service in just a moment. You'll need two books this morning, the blue prayer book and the red chumash. They're found on the table behind you. If anyone needs, the restrooms are right across the hallway. There's a water fountain, water station right outside the doorway. And we wish everybody a very, very good Shabbos.
Ki leolam pasto, ki leolam pasto, ki leolam pasto, ki leolam pasto, odula Adonai kitzo, ki leolam pasto, leolam pasto, ki leolam pasto, ki leolam pasto, odula Adonai kitzo, ki leolam pasto. Hasto, la 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 la. Le gozer yamsu, ligzarim, ki leolam hasto. Be'evir Yisrael, betocho, ki leolam hasto, ki leolam hasto, ki leolam hasto, ki leolam hasto. Odula Adonai kitzo, ki leolam hasto. Leolam hasto, ki leolam hasto, ki leolam hasto, odula Adonai kitzo, ki leolam hasto, leolam hasto, leolam hasto. And we'll begin our regular service on page 105. Shochenar marom וקדוש שמו וכתוב לנו צדיקים באדוני לישרים נאווה תהילה בפי שרים תתהלל ובדברי צדיקים תתברך ובלשון חסידים תתרומם ובקרב קדושים תתקדש ובמקהלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל בריני חרשם החמקים להודות להלל לשבח לפאר לרומם להדר לברך להלל קלס על כל נברי שירות ותשבחות דוד בן ישי עבדך משיחך ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. Page 106. Merachot mehodahot me'ata ve'ad olam Baruch atah Adonai el melech gadol v'tishmachot el hahodahot Adonai niflaot abocher v'shirei zimro melech el chei ha'olamim יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמא דברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ינסה וירדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשו בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ואמרו amen. Ask you all to please rise for the Baruch Hu. יוצר הכל, יוצר הכל, האל הפותח בכל יום דלתות שערי מזרח ומאיר לעולם, לעולם כולו.
מידת רחמים, המאיר לארץ ולעדרים, עליה ברחמים. Lai, 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 sing with me. Lai, 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 lai. האל הפותח בכל יום דלתות שערי מזרח, ומאיר לעולם, לעולם כולו. כל יושבע שברא במידת רחמים, המאיר לארץ ולעדרים, עליה ברחמים. Lai, 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 אין כרך אדוני אלוהינו בעולם הזה, ואין זולתך מלכנו לחיי העולם הבא. אפס מלכך גואלנו לימות המשיח, ואין דומה לך מושיענו לתחיית המתים. אל אדון על כל המעשים, ברוך ומבורך בפי כל נשמה, גודלו וטובו מלא עולם, דעת ותבונה סובבים אותו. המתגאה על חיות הקודש ונדר וחמוד על המרכבה, זכות ומישור לפני חיסו, חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו. טובים מאורות שברא אלוהינו, יצרם בדעת מבינה והשכל, כוח וגבורה נתן בהם להיות מושלים בקרב תבל. מלאים זיו ומפיקים נוגה, נועזיבם וכל העולם, שמחים בצאתם וששים בבואם, עושים בהם הרצון קונם. פאר וכבוד נותנים לשמו, צהלה ורינה לזכר מלכותו. קרא לשמש ויזרח אור רעה, והתקיל צורת הלבנה. שבח נותנים לו כל צבא, מערו תפארת וגדולה, שרפים ואופנים וחיות הקודש. לאל אשר שבת מכל המעשים ביום השביעי. דו 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 לנו נא על מאורי אור שעשית יפרוך הסלע, תפארת צורנו מלכנו.
Page 110.
כולם אהובים, כולם ברורים, כולם גיבורים, וכולם כאחד עונים ואומרים ביראה, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. והאופנים בחיות הקודש ברעש גדול מתנשאים ליום הצרפים, ליומתם משבחים ואומרים, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, אל ברוך נמותיתנו וקיים. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות. אהבה רבה אהבתנו, אדוני אלוהינו, חמלה גדולה מצרה חמלת עלינו. אבינו מלכנו בעבור אבותינו, Shabbat rovcha, Shabbat rovcha, Avinu Malkeinu. ותלמדם חוקי חיים, כן תכוננו ותלמדנו, אבינו ורחמן, המרחם רחם עלינו, ותן בליבנו להבין ולהשכיל לשמוע, ללמוד וללמד, לשמור ולעשות, ולקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה, והרננו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו לאהבה וליראה את שמך, ולא נבוש לעולם ועד, ולא נבוש לעולם ועד, כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה ונשמחה, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך. והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו כה ממרתני ארצנו, כי אל פועל ישועות אתה, ובנו מכרת מכל עם ולשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול סלע באמת, להודות לך ויחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, bechol levavcha, uvechol nafshecha, uvechol meodecha, ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi metzavecha, hayom alavavecha, veshinamtam levanecha, vedibarta bam, veshivtecha veitecha, uvlektecha avaderech, ushokvecha uvekumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, vehayu letatafo beinenecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha.
עודנו מצילנו מעולם שמך, אין אלוהים זולתך, עזרת אבותינו אתה הוא מעולם, מגן ומשיח. תהילות אל עליון, ברוך ומבורך משה ובני ישראל, לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, דורות תהילות אוסף אלה. שירה חדשה שיבחו גלים לשמך שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ובטחנו בך, יהודה וישראל, גואלנו, אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
Shabbat morning, Amidah, page 115.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, chasadim tovim, vekonei hakol, vezocher chastei avot. Umavi goel livnei vneihem, leman shemo ve'ava. Melech ozer Mashiach umagen, Baruch atah Adonai. Magen Abraham uvoked Sarah, atah gibor le'olam Adonai. Mechaye metim atah, Rav lehoshia. Mechakel chayim vechesed, Mechaye metim verachamim rabim. Somech noflim verafeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar. Michamacha b'gevurav, umidam elav. Melech meimid umechayeh, umasmiach Yeshua. Bene'emanata lehachayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hametim.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, שם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אז בקול רעש גדול, אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מתנשאים יום הצרפים ליום התם, ברוך יומנו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. במקומך מלכנו, מלכנו תופיע, ותשמעו עלינו, כי מחכים אנחנו לך. במקומך מלכנו, ירושלים, ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, ולנצח נצחים, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, ולנצח נצחים. ועינינו תראנה מלכותך, כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך. על ידי דוד משיח צדקך, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. ושפחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Moments for personal prayer. The words of the Amidah continue on the pages that follow.
שים שלום בעולם, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך. מלכנו אבינו כולנו כאחד באור פניך, כי באור פניך נתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה. ימיכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב האמרו, יהי שמי רב המבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינסה ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשו. בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירה מעלמה והאמרו, תקבל צלון הון ונכון לכל ישראל, קודם אבן ושמיה והאמרו, יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל והאמרו, עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל והאמרו, אמן.
Morning, Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to Valley Beth Shalom. This morning we celebrate a very special moment. I think I remember your father's bar mitzvah. I actually think I have a picture on my desk from the party in your backyard from that wonderful bar mitzvah. So this is a very special moment for us all. I want to ask your mom and dad to come forward and to share with us and to share with you some words of wisdom and love and a talit as a symbol of your bar mitzvah.
I'm going to cry without even starting. It seems just yesterday, your dad and I stood here with you on this very bima. We were joined by so many of the people here today as we welcomed you into the Jewish community. That day, Rabbi Feinstein warned us not to blink. He told us that this day, your bar mitzvah would be here before we knew it, and in a blink, here we are. Jonah, your arrival changed all of us. You turned me and your dad into parents, our sisters into aunts, our parents into grandparents, and even some of our grandparents into great-grandparents. And what a joy the last 13 years raising you has been. Okay, so maybe there was this tiny phase in preschool when I saw the school's number on my phone, I would panic. Not because I thought you were hurt, but because I knew the teacher was calling to report that you had just bit your best friend. Again. But flash forward to last week, and those phone calls from the school are now to tell us that because of your impeccable character and the values you have demonstrated, you've been selected as a mentor to new students in the fall. 13 years ago, I could have never imagined that the tiny baby I held at his breasts would be the same incredible boy that stands before me today. Jonah, the way you prepared for this day really blew me away. You met this moment with determination, seriousness, and a sense of responsibility far beyond your 13 years of age. You met with Yossi weekly and learned how to lead a service without a word of nagging from me or your dad. In fact, a few months ago, I asked your dad when you were going to start learning your Torah portion and was met with, Amanda, he's already done. And when it came time to meet with Rabbi Feinstein to go over your speech, you emailed him to set up an appointment and met with him all on your own. Responsible and independent. That has been you since day one. On your first day of preschool, I came armed with magazines, prepared to sit for days while you transitioned into letting me leave. Instead, you exclaimed, "Bye, Mommy, you go now." And so I went and I cried in my car. You are the same child who remembers to wear his retainer and does not lose a single article of clothing at camp. The same child who, when I asked his 4th grade teacher if he was turning in all of his schoolwork, she replied, "Trust him, you've raised a great kid." When I think of the adjectives that describe you, the words that pop into my head are kind, compassionate, and sweet. Perhaps the sweetness is enhanced by the loads of sugar you seem to subsist off of, or just want company on an errand or walk. Jonah's your man. Your ability to roll with the punches and turn lemons into lemonade was especially apparent during the rougher days of the pandemic. Instead of dwelling on what you were missing, you spent that time learning how to play guitar, ride a bike, surf, and even brush up on your Fortnite skills. Being the oldest, you have always had a gaggle of younger cousins and kids fighting over who gets to play with Jonah. You never see it as a burden. Spending time with those you love brings you genuine joy, and you love your family fiercely. If you look back at the pictures of the day your brother Emmett was born, there is not a single photo without you in it, because you would not release your death grip from him. You were beaming with pride at your baby Emmett. And while, of course, there has been a healthy dose of sibling scuffles over the past 10 years, watching the two of you love each other as only brothers do makes my heart swell with joy. They say you can tell the character of a person by the people they surround themselves with. Jonah, I want you to take a moment and look around the room. At the people who are here with you today, your loving family and your family by choice, the amazing friends you have made from VBS, Milken, Camp Ramah, and preschool. We could not be more blessed. Jonah, as you transition into Jewish adulthood and this next stage in your life, I want to leave you with a few pieces of advice. Remember, you are not defined by what you wear, what you drive, or where you live. You are defined by your actions and how you make people feel. Be a mensch. Be a helper. Roll up your sleeves and give back to the community that cares for you. Be responsible, not just for your things, but for your actions. Own up to your mistakes and learn from them. Continue to be welcoming, compassionate, and kind, but do not ever lose yourself in trying to please others. Life is going to throw you many curveballs, and I know your flexibility and optimistic outlook will help you navigate those tough times. Remember, too, that there are times when it is okay to not be flexible and to stand your ground. Use those times wisely and with resolve. Life is precious, Jonah. Continue to soak it all in, savor the good moments, and jump at the opportunity to connect with the people you love. But also remember, life is precious. When that voice inside you tells you something is not a good idea or doesn't feel quite right, listen to it, trust it, and do not allow yourself to be persuaded otherwise. As we were gathering memories for your montage, I came across a video of you in the hospital a few hours after you were born. You can hear me in the background saying, "I love him," to which the room erupted in laughter, and everyone replied, "Of course you do." And I replied, "No, I really love him." Hearing it back now, there is an absurdity to the obvious profession of a mother's love. But in that moment, it felt profound. Jonah, the love that your dad and I feel for you is something I want you to carry with you forever. As you grow older and life will have its twists and turns, I want you to remember that your dad, your brother, and I are always here to support and guide you. And no matter what, you are really loved. Mazel tov on your bar mitzvah. I'm so proud of you. I love
Jonah, it's still crazy to me that any of us are old enough to be here doing this, but here we are. I derive so much meaning from you standing here today, ready to become a bar mitzvah, a son of the commandment, in front of not just our family and friends, but also a community that has played a pivotal role in shaping who you are at your core. For you, around almost every corner, like the time it was mentioned to us that you were able to apply for a mentorship program for incoming students at your school, you didn't at first, and the teachers made you apply for it anyway. Or when just last week I received an email from your school rabbi letting us know that you and your friends won the entire Israel Pursuit US West regional competition, that's a mouthful, and that you would be going on to represent all of Milken and the region in the global finals. Of course, sneaking in at the end to win second place on Tuesday. I didn't even know anything about the competition's existence, and here you are, the global runner-up. You're a really great kid and an empathetic person. While I think we'd like to take a lot of credit for it, I do believe some of it you were just born with and is just who you are. We have a lot of lessons for you today and every day. After all, there are 613 commandments. But keep on doing what you do. You already have embodied many of the values we have wished to impart to you, like being inclusive, grateful, acting with loving kindness, standing up for others, and pursuing justice, and the importance of a good name. Your mother and I have tried to be a dugma, setting a good example of the way to live in a community, be charitable, and to care about and be kind to others. We have taught you to give back, both with your time and skills and financially to the institutions and causes that have lifted us up and do the most good. From Pirkei Avot in the Mishnah, one of Zadie's favorite books to quote, we learn, Im ein ani li mili, ukshe'ani le'atzmi ma'ani, ve'im lo achshav matai. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? And if I'm only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? The lesson here is that we need to stand up. The lesson here is that we need to have respect for people, place, and self. Stand up for yourself and what you believe is right. Don't be afraid to act and never lose sight of your convictions. I can promise you one thing, that at times life will not be easy. You will go through sad times and hard times, and times where you'll need to muster all of your inner strength and courage in order to persevere. Life can be so great and has so much to offer, but we need to appreciate how precious it is, clinging tightly to what we value and to glean something from every experience. There will be distractions along the way to your purpose. Hopefully you can let them just be noise around you, keep your head down or up, as the case may be, and find a way to achieve your goal. I have so enjoyed spending the last 13 years with you. Your presence has really been such a blessing for me and our family. While it's important for me to spend time working to ensure our family is able to do whatever we need or want to do, it's more important for me to spend as much time with you, your brother, and your mom as possible, appreciating each other, experiencing life together, and all of the lessons it holds. Of course, a lot of this is just training for your next steps in advancing your own life to and through adulthood. While I know you will go on to do whatever you set your mind and heart to, I hope you will always remember our core values and hold your family close. Don't forget the little people on your way up. At your school, they have used the phrase, at your current school, they have used the phrase surpass us as part of the school's mission. While I'm happy for you to follow in my footsteps by attending the same but now better schools in VBS Day School and Milken, and carrying on the tradition as a third-generation Ramonic, I'm more excited by what the future holds and for you to surpass us. We have and will continue to give you what we believe are the best tools for success. Now it will be just up to you to use them. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility. I have no doubt that you will rise to the opportunity and be aware of the charge in front of you. I could not be more proud of you today. You worked diligently with Yossi to be able to rock your bar mitzvah, and you have met all of life's challenges head on. My wish for you is to continue to be a shining star in life. Hold your head high and be your best self. I love you so much, and mazel tov.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitchenu v'mitzvotav v'tzivanu v'hitatef b'tzitzit.
Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai meloch leolam vaed, Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom, al harachamim ירושלים. כי בך לבד בטחנו, מלך אל רם ונישא, אדון עולמים. ויהי מנשוא אהרון, ויאמר משה, קומה אדוני, ויפוצו אויביך, וינוסו משנאיך מפניך. כי מציון תצא תורה, כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים. ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל. אחד אלוהינו, גדול אדוננו, קדוש שמו. גדלו לאדוני איתי, ונרוממה שמו ויכתוב. לך אדוני הגדולה והגבורה והתפארת והנצח וההוד. כי כל בשמיים ובארץ, כי כל בשמיים ובארץ. לך אדוני הממלכה, והמתנשא לכל רוב. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו, רוממו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו, רוממו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו להר קודשו. כי רוממו. על שלושה דברים, עולם עולם עומד. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, העולם עומד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, העולם עומד.
Please be seated. Please be seated. At this point in the service, you're welcome to close the blue prayer books and take out one of the large volumes, the red volume of the Chumash, and the section of Torah that Jonah will be reading for us this morning begins on page 738. We're reading from the last sections of the Hebrew book of Leviticus, the third book of the Hebrew Bible. Page 738 in the large red volume. When I was in college, we took a seminar, an extramural seminar, offered across many departments, politics, economics, psychology. And the premise of the seminar was very simple. There was no reading list. There were no books. They brought us into a seminar room, 25 of us, and the teacher who offered the seminar offered the following scenario. You've been shipwrecked. The 25 of you are shipwrecked. And here is your island. Drew it on a blackboard. And here are the resources at your disposal. There's a stream. There are trees. There's a few things you rescued from the ship. And there's the 25 of you. We don't know when you're going to get rescued. Survive. Survive. Organize and survive. So we set to work surviving. Building huts, finding food, caring for one another. We were 1960s countercultural kids. I had hair back then. And so we organized a perfect society on the basis of Marxist principles, from each according to his abilities, to each according to his needs. And the first seminar went by perfectly, and by the time we finished that first evening, we had huts, we had a food supply, we had a commissary, we had a dispensary, we had industry. It was wonderful. We all went home feeling just great. Second seminar, a storm comes in, knocks down some huts, messes up the industry. How do you respond? We figured it out. We all went home feeling great. Third seminar comes. Now, the teacher had some ringers in the room. Guy comes in and he says, you know, I'm tired of working so hard, so much harder than the rest of you, and getting so much less. I deserve more. So there's a discussion. Do you deserve more? How do you make a decision about who deserves more? This one's a doctor. This one's a farmer. This one's a nurse. This one's a teacher. Who deserves more? And then someone says, I don't feel like going to work today. Sweet and good and wonderful. Easy. What do you do when you have to deal with real people? People who have impulses and appetites and desires and reflexes and irritability and aggravation and selfishness and desire. What do you do with real people? How on earth do you create a just society? How do you create a sacred community out of real people? That's the problem the Torah faces this morning. Now, the section we're reading comes from a very particular place. There was a class of people in ancient Israel called Levites and priests, Levites and Kohanim. Levites and priests owned no property. They were supported by the community. They were the functionaries of the community. They taught, they healed, they helped, they offered worship, and they were supported by the community. So they stood outside the economic life of the community and could watch what economy does to human beings. They could watch what the accumulation of wealth does to human beings. They could watch what the impoverishment of human beings does to the human soul. And the section we're going to read this morning is their response to that issue. How do you create a sacred society out of real people? Real people who have all of the impulses of real people. I mean, I remember living on kibbutz as a kid. Visited kibbutz many times. Kibbutz my parents actually founded. And watching the way people interacted with kibbutz started with this great ideology, same utopian ideology. And then it had to meet real people with real issues. How do you deal with that? How do you create a structure? How do you create a structure that produces justice among people who are unequal by nature? One guy worked 12 hours a day. One guy maybe worked 2 hours a day. Do they deserve the same care and solicitude of the community. This becomes very serious when you're dealing with a real community. And what happens when someone has less and someone has more? The priest is responsible for maintaining a presence of holiness in a community. Put it in a different language. How do you create a community where God would like to live? How do you create a community where God would like to live? And the priest stands outside of the economy. So the priest can see things that the rest of us have become very accustomed to. I don't know about you, but I've become very accustomed to living in a city where certain people live in mansions that cost hundreds of millions of dollars, and other people literally across the street live on the street, in a tent, in a car, in a trailer, in a box. Is that where God would want to live? Is that a community that is holy? Is that the best we can do? And if you decide it's not the best you can do, how are you going to fix it? I'm not running for mayor. Don't get me wrong. I have no idea how to fix it because it's incredibly complicated with housing and income and mental health and property and law and privilege and all of the other issues that go along with governing a community. But that's the question that the priests are going to work out today. That's what we're going to read in the Torah. So the system that the priests come up with is ingenious and it's radical. Every 7 years, the land rests. Every 7 years, you stop farming. Every 7 years, you stop earning. Every 7 years, you take a year off. You see, the problem is twofold. The one is the collective problem of how do you create a society where there's a certain degree of equality and equity for everybody. But the priest saw something else happening. The priest saw something else that the rest of us couldn't see. And I dare say American society hasn't seen this in a very long time. What happens to us? They work for anything else in life. A person whose identity is built on the stuff that they own. And then what happens? So the priests come along and say, here's a solution. Every 7 years, stop earning. Leave the economy. Take a year off. And then, here's the craziest idea. And I make this up. It's in the Torah, I promise you. Every 7 years, 49 years, you get a 50th year called the Yovel. Yovel, Jubilee. Jubilee is an exact translation of Yovel. On that day, ever play Monopoly? Anyone ever play Monopoly? What you do in Monopoly, at the end of the game, you push all the money into the middle, all the houses, all the hotels, and everybody starts over again with $200 and the shoe. Well, I got the shoe. You got the hat, right? You got the cat. If you don't know Monopoly, you don't know what that just meant. You start over again. The entire economy wounds down to zero. Now, just imagine this for a minute. I didn't make this up. It's in the Torah. On one day, on the Yom Kippur, they blow a shofar. And on that day, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, and Elon Musk put all their money back into the middle. And everyone takes out the same amount. And we start over again. If you live in Malibu, you move back to Reseda. If you live in Reseda, you move up to Woodland Hills. Everyone starts over again. That was the priest's idea for how you heal the problem of systemic poverty. Because they were worried about 1, 2, 3 generations raised in poverty. That was the priest's solution to how you make sure that nobody becomes Pharaoh. That is, nobody defines themselves so deeply as what they own and what they control. Because you don't really own anything, and you don't really control anything. You only lease it for another 42 years, or 43 years, or 38 years, or 28 years. Whatever you're in, whatever you got, you're giving away. How would you shop differently if you knew that every 50 years you were going to have to give away everything you owned? What car would you not drive? What house would you live in? How would you decorate that house? How would you live your life? How would your life be different if that were the system? That's what the priest asks us to consider. Here's the good news. It was never done. It could never be done because it demands a certain kind of human character. But as a question that it asks us, Who are you relative to the stuff that you own and the money that you have and the wealth that you control? And what does that do to you? And what is the relative importance to you of living a sacred life as opposed to living a moneyed life? That is a very difficult question. So we've chosen a very pure soul to ask that question this morning. Jonah, come on back up to the Torah. The first Aliyah, Amanda and Matt.
ויעזור ויגן ויושיע לכל החוסים בו, ונאמר אמן. הכל הבוגר טובות לתורה יעמדו, הורי הבר מצווה, מתתיהו בן מיכאל וינקלה, לאה בת מרדכי ויהודית, ראשונים, ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו, ואתם הדבקים באדוני אלוהיכם, חיים כולכם יום. Again, in the Chumash, in the Red Book, page 738.
Baruchu et Adonai Hamvorach.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם.
Haaretz, Shabbat l'Adonai, Shesh Shanim tizra sadecha, Veshesh Shanim tizmor karmecha, Vesavta et tevuata.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'hayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
יעמדו מיכאל בן צבי ואסנת וינקלה בת דוד ופסח לעלייה שנייה.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMavorach. Baruch Adonai HaMavorach Le'olam Vahed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Uvashana hashvi'i, Shabbat Shabbatani el haaretz, Shabbat l'Adonai, Sadecha lo tizra, v'charmecha lo tizmor, et sefi ketzircha lo tiksur, etin ve'nazirecha lo tiksur, Shnat Shabbatani el haaretz, Eitar, Shabbat haaretz lachem lecha, lecha levadecha ve'la'amatecha, Yisircha u'toshavcha, Hagarim imach, ve'liventecha, ve'chaya asher ba'atzecha, tiyeh kol tevuata lecho.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet V'chayei Olam Nata B'tochenu Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
יעמדו מרדכי בן יצחק וחסיה יהודית בת אריה ורות לעלייה שלישית. מרטין גרובר.
Adonai Havarach.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם.
Baruch Adonai Hamalach Le'elam Voed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Asher Baharbanu Mikol Hamim. V'na'ata lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. V'safarta lecha, Sheva Shabtot Shanim, Sheva Pamim, Vehayu Lecha Yemei, Sheva Shabtot HaShanim, Tesha ve'arba'im Shana, Vavarta, Shofar Teruah, Bechodesh HaShvi'i, Basor LaChodesh, Yom HaKippurim, Taviru Shofar Bechortechem, Ve'kidashem, Et Shanat HaChamishim Shana, Ukratem Deroi, Ve'atzlecho Yashvea, Yelohi, Tiyelachem, Yishaftem, Yishalachu Zato, Ve'yishiyam Mishpachto, Tashu.
Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher
Nanu
b'choranu
Torah
Torah Baruch.
Baruchu et Adonai Hamorach.
Baruch Adonai Amvorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch
Adonai
Hamorach
Amvorach
Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, ונתן לנו את תורתו. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
The fourth Aliyah will be on page 740, verse 11.
Amen. Yovelhi. Shana tachamishim shana. Tihye lachem. Lo tizra'u velo tikseru et teficheya. Velo tipseru et nezireya. Ki yovelhi. Kodesh tihye lachem. Min hasadeh. Tochlu et tevuata. Bishnat hayovel hazot. Tashuvu. Ishalachu zato.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam natan betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
יעמדו אבי בן חיים ופרלה אביגיל בת מיכאל ויענקלה רבקה בת מיכאל ויענקלה דוב בן אברהם ושרה לעלייה חמישית.
Et Adonai Hamorach.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, ונתן לנו את תורתו. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vechitim keru karla mitacha, o kano meyada mitacha, altonu yishadachiv, emisbar shmanim, achar hayovel, tikne me'et amitacha, emisbar shne tvuad korlach, lefi rov hashanim, tarbe mignato, ufi me'ot hashanim, tamid miknato, ki mispar tavuot, hu mocher lach, velo tonu yishet amito, veyareta me'elohecha, ki ani Adonai Elohechem, vasitem et chukotai, vet mishpatai tishmeru vasitem otam, vishavtem ala aretz laveta.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam natan betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
תעמוד. חיילר בת צבי ורבקה הלוי לעלייה שישית, ב-741, verse 19. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai HaTorah.
Amen. Venatna haaretz piriya, v'achaltem lasova, v'shoftem lavetach aleya, v'chi tamru.
בספר בן הרב ובנר של הלוי ויהודית לעלייה שביעית.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן. וזרעתם את השנה השמינית, ואכלתם מן התבואה ישן, עד השנה השביעית, עד בוא תבואתה תאכלו ישן, והארץ לא תימכר לצמיתות, כי לי הארץ, כי גרים ותושבים אתם עמדי. בכל ארץ אחוזתכם, גאולה תיתנו לארץ.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן כך ואמרו יש מרבם. Everybody לעולם ולעולמי יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דהירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יעמוד הבחור הבר מצווה יונה דוד בן מתתיהו וגיתלה לאה מפטיר חזק חזק. The maftir, the conclusion of Parashat Bahar, you find it on page 745, bottom of the page, verse 55.
Baruchu et Adonai hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim venatan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Ki li bnei Yisrael avadim avadaihem asher hotzeti otam me'eretz Mitzrayim. Ani Adonai Elohechem lo tatu lachem elelim. Ufetzom ateva lo takimu lachem be'even maskid. Lo tidnu be'artzechem lishtachavot aleya ki ani Adonai Elohechem shabtotai tishmoru u'mikdashi tirahu ani Adonai.
Please be seated. The Haftarah, the prophetic section for this Shabbat, is found on page 759 from the prophet Yirmiyahu, and that will follow Jonah's words of commentary and interpretation. Wait 1 second. Let's just move you over in front of the microphone. Try that. That's better.
Shabbat Shalom. My bar mitzvah is the point in life. When I get to lead a service and read from the Torah in front of my family, friends, and the VBS congregation. Becoming a bar mitzvah is important to me because it brings me closer to Judaism and connects me with the generations that came before me. Now that I'm a bar mitzvah, according to Judaism, I'm considered an adult. A kid does not have the same responsibilities as an adult. As a kid, I'm still learning how to treat people and face challenges. If I mess up, consequences often aren't that serious. But as I get older, I will be expected to learn from my mistakes, and consequences will get bigger. Eventually, as a real adult, I will have to work, pay bills, drive myself places, and abide by the law. As an adult, I can't rely on my parents to do everything for me. People will expect more from me, and I am supposed to know how to act. Part of becoming a bar mitzvah means taking on more responsibilities. The most important is owning up to my mistakes and being accountable for my actions. When I am responsible, I build up trust from others. When other people trust me, I earn more freedom, such as staying up later, getting more screen time, and being allowed to hang out with friends. If I am irresponsible and people do not trust me, I will not have those freedoms and could start to lose other privileges too. Another responsibility of becoming a bar mitzvah is giving back to the community by participating in a mitzvah project. One of my best friends, Ian, and I chose to raise money for Camp Ramah by biking in a charity 5K. Camp is my home away from home in the summer. As many of you know, I'm a third-generation Ramah camper, and I hope to one day be a counselor too. I recently learned that over half of the campers at Ramah receive some sort of financial aid in order to attend camp. Raising money for Camp Ramah is important to me because I want all Jewish children to have the opportunity to experience the magic of camp, even if they are not able to afford it on their own. Thank you to everyone that supported Ian and my 5K team. With your contributions, we raised $10,000 for Camp Ramah, equal to almost 2 camp tuitions. We are so grateful for your generosity toward this important cause. My Torah portion, Parashat Bahar, focuses on Shemitah, which are the laws about resting the fields, the Jubilee year, and land titles. Of course, the son of a real estate investor gets a Torah portion about land titles. The last part of Parashat Bahar then discusses how to treat others who are in financial trouble and what your responsibilities are to them. In my Haftarah, we see how the prophet Jeremiah is impacted by these laws. His cousin, Hanamel, is in debt and comes to him for help. He needs to sell his land in Judea, and it is Jeremiah's responsibility to help him. The problem is, the land Hanamel is trying to sell Jeremiah is under siege. Chances are, the land will be stolen from Jeremiah shortly after purchasing it. Basically, if someone asked my dad if Pegasus Investments should buy this property, he would answer, absolutely not. However, Jeremiah puts his faith in God and upholds his responsibility to help his cousin by purchasing the land. Jeremiah then begs God in prayer that he fixes the sticky situation in Judea. The idea from Bahar that resonates with me the most is the commandment of treating people in trouble with respect. I would have to take the blame all by myself. It would have been much easier to say nothing and take the fault together. However, the concept of treating people fairly with dignity when they are at a low point is extremely important to me. This is a lesson I will carry with me for the rest of my life. I would like to thank my family and friends for supporting and celebrating with me today. I would like to thank my aunts and uncles for being my second parents, but a lot more fun. And also my cousins for being fun to grow up with. I waited for you for a very long time. I would like to thank my grandparents for being a great source of wisdom and loving me for who I am. I treasure the special time we spent together. Thank you also for getting me the Jewish artifacts for today, including my talit, tefillin, yad, and siddur. I will cherish these items forever. Thank you, Emmett, for always being there for me, making me laugh and having someone to hug whenever I feel happy, sad, or a little bit of both. There's no one in this world that can make me feel better than you do. I'm so lucky to have you as my brother. I love you so much. Thank you, Daddy, for spending time with me all the time. Whether it's coaching my baseball teams, riding on roller coasters at Disneyland, or even racing for the last piece of chocolate in the pantry. I enjoy every moment with you. I can talk to you about practically anything. You always make me feel loved. I hope to grow up and be just like you someday. You are the best dad ever. I love you so much. Thank you, Mommy, for always being there for me. You know how to make anyone feel better. You always see the good in people, and you give amazing advice. I love when you tell stories about your past, especially the ones when you were a teacher. Nobody can ask for a better mom, and I'm so glad that you are mine. I love you so much. I would especially like to thank Yossi for helping me study and always having confidence in me. I'm going to miss spending time with you every week. Thank you, Rabbi Feinstein and Cantor Barron, for helping prepare me for today and adding so much to the service. Thank you all for coming, and Shabbat Shalom. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'milim tovim beratzav v'divreihem hanem barim be'emed. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah u'Moshe avdo v'Yisrael amo v'yeh ha'emet b'tzedek v'yomer miyahu hayad bar Adonai elai lemor hine Chanamel ben Shalom dodcha ba'elecha lemor k'nei lecha tzadi asher ba'anatot ki lecha mishpat ha'geula liknot vayavo elai Chanamel ben dodi kidvar Adonai el chatzar hamatara vayomer elai nena tzadi asher ba'anatot asher be'eretz binyamin ki lecha mishpat hayerusha ucha geula pnei lach vayda kidvar Adonai hu vayiknet hasadeh me'et Chanamel ben dodi asher ba'anatot vashkalalo et hakesef shiva shkalim v'asara hakasef v'echtov b'sefer v'echtom ba'ed edim v'eshko hakesef b'maznayim va'ekach et sefer hamikna et chatum hamitzvah v'hachukim v'et hagalui et sefer hamikna hazeh v'et chatum v'et sefer hagalui hazeh u'tatam b'chli chares eman yamdu yamim rabim ki lo amar Adonai Sabaoth Elohei Yisrael od yikanu ratim basadot uchramim be'aretz hazot ba'et palo el Adonai acharei titi et hasefer hamikna al Baruch ben Neriah lemor aha Adonai Elohim Hineh ata asita tashamayim v'ta'aretz v'chochacha hagadol v'yizrolecha hantuyah v'yipaleh mimcha kol davar oseh chesed lalafim u'mshalem avon avot ochek b'neihem achareihem ha'el hagadol hagibor Adonai Tzevaot Shemo Gedol ha'etzav v'rav hallelujah Asher enecha v'kuchot hakol derchei b'nei adam latet la'ish kidrachav v'chifrim alalav Asher samta otot uv'maftim be'eretz Mitzrayim ad hayom hazeh u've'Yisrael Uvadam ותוצא לך השם כיום הזה, ותוצא את עמך את ישראל מארץ מצרים, באותות ובמופתים, וביד חזקה, ובזרוע נטויה, ובמורה גדול, ותיתן להם את הארץ הזאת, שנשבעת לאבותם, לתת להם ארץ זבת חלב ודבש, ויבואו וירשו אותה, ולא שמעו בקולך, קראתך לא הלכו את כל אשר ציווית לכם לעשות לא עשו, ותקרא אותם את כל הרעה הזאת. הנה הסוללות באו העיר ולכדה, והעיר ניתנה ביד הכסדים הנלחמים עליה מפני החרב והרעב והדבר אשר דיברת היה ואינך רואה. ואתה אמרת אלי, אדוני אלוהים, נלך השדה בכסף והדדים, והעיר ניתנה ביד הכסדים. ויהי דבר אדוני אל ירמיהו לאמור, הנה אני אדוני אלוהי כל בשר, ממני יפלא כל דבר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל עמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, הנאמן האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ונאמנים דבריך, יברך מדבריך, אחור לא ישוב ריקם. כי המלך נאמן ורחמן אתה, ברוך אתה אשב זר, ולא ינחלו עוד אחרים את כבודו, כי בשם קודשך נשבעת לו, שלא יכפנה רוב לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מגן דוד, התורה והעבודה, והנביאים ביום השבת הזה, שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. הכל אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך וברכים אותך, יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, yelanu. Simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, yelanu. Yelanu, yelanu, holy, holy Israel. Yelanu, yelanu, holy, holy Israel. David melech Israel, chai v'kayam. David melech Israel, chai v'kayam.
Mazel tov! Mazel tov. Now take all the candy and put it in your mouth at the same time. Don't even unwrap it, just stuff it in there. Cruel rabbi, child abuse rabbi. Take just a moment now for two very personal prayers. Prayer for friends and family who are sick, who are suffering, who are ill this Shabbos. If there's someone close to you who isn't well, then share this prayer. Gather their presence in your heart. Hold them close. Yishaberach Avotenu Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarif Rachov Aleah v'Yivarech v'Yiraped Kol HaCholim b'Kilatenu HaKdosha. May you, who blessed our ancestors at the sea and in the desert, bless all our ill friends through us, your witnesses. Grant that they know they have in this holy community men, women, and children who pray for the skill of the physician, who pray for the recovery of body and wholeness of spirit. Teach us to remember your words. From the void and the vastness of the darkness, let there be light. And we pray together. Amen. Take a moment to pray for brothers and sisters in the state of Israel. Pray for their well-being, their safety, their security, and their prosperity. Avinu Shebashamayim, Sur Yisrael v'Goalo, Barech Medinat Yisrael, Rishit Smichat Gulatenu. Avinu Shebashamayim, Rock and Redeemer of the people of Israel, bless the state of Israel with its promise of redemption. Shielded with your love, spread over it the shelter of your peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and truth. Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Deliver them, crown their efforts with triumph. Bless the land with peace and its inhabitants with lasting joy. And together we pray. Amen. Back in the blue prayer book, page 151, Ashrei.
Ashrei yoshvei beitecha od yalucha sela. Ashrei ham shekachalo. Ashrei ham shadonai Eloha. Tahila leDavid. Aromim chalohai hamela. Yeracha paimu chesed. Tov Adonai leko. Barachamav kol ma'asav. Ducha Adonai kol ma'asecha. Chasidecha yevarchucha. Kevod malchucha yomeru. Ugradcha yedaberu. V'yamid me'adam gevrotav. Kol hadar malchuto. Malchucha malchut kol ulamim. Umem shotecha bechol dor vador. Kol noflim. V'zokev lekol hakufim. Einei kol elecha yasaberu. Ve'ata noten lechem etacham be'ito. Teach yadecha motzpia lechol chai ratzam. Sadik Adonai bechol deracha. V'chasid bechol ma'asav. Rav Adonai lekol gorav. Bechol asher yikra'u me'emet. Ratzon yira'av yaseh. Ve'et shavatam yishma ve'yoshihem. Adonai kol gorav. Ve'et kol shayim yashmi. Tehilat Adonai yadaber pi. V'yiveret kol basar. Shem kodsho le'olam va'ed.
V'anachnu nevarech ya. Ve'ata ve'ad olam. Hallelujah.
We rise together as the Sefer Torah is lifted and carried. We call forward for the honor of opening the Ark, Adam and Gabe Waterman, Mark Breder, Richard Frank, Jennifer Colvin, Adam Gruber, and Daniel Gruber. Please come forward and accept the honor of replacing the Sefer Torah. Page 153.
Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki nizkar shemo levado, hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren le'amo, tehila lechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael am kerovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Yisrael ve'oraita, kodesh berigo, kaleho. Yisrael ve'oraita, kodesh berigo, karo. Torah ora, hallelujah. Torah Kadesh, Kadesh Yameinu, Kadesh Yameinu, Kekedem. Yitkadav yikra shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlik malkutei, v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'cher hol beit Yisrael, bagalav v'zman karim v'himro, yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'olam v'nalmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtamach v'yitbahor v'yishumam yinasei, v'yitador v'yitalef v'yitalal shemei nekudesha, Riculela min kol berena meshirata, tush berena menechemata, damiram yamava himaru.
Your prayer book, page 156b.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Agadol, Hagibor ve'Hanara, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Bekonei Hakol, Bezocher Chasdei Aravot, Umevi Goel, Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Uvokhet Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Meitim Atah, Rav Lehoshia, Mechalkel Chaim V'chesed, Mechayei Meitim Berachamim Rabim, Tomech Noflim Ve'rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, B'shenei Afar, Bichamocha B'gevurot, Umidom Melach, Melech Mimid, Umechayei, Umasmiach Yeshua, B'ne'eman atah l'chayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai mechayei hametim.
Nar Yitzchak, v'nakdishcha, kesosiach, sarfei kodesh, hamakdishim, shimcha ba'kodesh, kakatuv al yad neviyecha, v'karazel ze ve'amar, kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melech kol haaretz kevodo, kevodo malei, malei olam. Yishartav shoalim, shoalim ze lazeh, hayei mekom kevodo, leomatam baruch yomeinu, baruch kevod Adonai mimkomo hu even berachamim bechad hu Eloheinu hu Avinu hu Malkeinu hu Moshiachenu hu Yashmienu berachamav she'nitnei kol chai hu Eloheinu hu Avinu hu Malkeinu hu Moshiachenu hu Yashmienu berachamav she'nitnei kol chai liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה, לדור ודור נגיגון לך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושפח אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Quiet moments for personal prayer. The words of the Amidah follow on pages 58 through the end of the Amidah. Finish your prayers, you're welcome to be seated. We continue with the cantor, page 181.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבם, בעלמא יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב וימרו, יהי שמי רבם מבורך, לעולם ולעלמי יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא וירדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמנו קודשא בריחו לילה מן כל ברכת ושירתה תושבחת ונחמתה דמירה מימה והימרו תקבל צלול הונו והון כל ישראל קודם אבל משמעי והימרו יהי שלמה רבה מן שמי וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל והימרו עושה שלום במרומה, יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, יעשה שלום, בחלוננו, בחל מלכנו, בחמושיינו, נודל אלוהינו, נודל אדוננו, נודל מלכנו, נודל מושיינו, ברוך אלוהינו, ברוך אדוננו, ברוך מלכנו, ברוך מושיינו, תחו אלוהינו, תחו אדוננו, תחו מלכנו, תחו מושיינו, תחו שהגדירו אבותינו, לפניך כתורת הסמים, יאללה, לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר לארץ. לתקן עולם ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Kaddish are recited in memory of loved ones, observance of yahrzeit. Anyone who recites Kaddish is asked to remain standing, as everyone else is invited to be seated. It's a custom in our community that if you see someone standing alone, stand up with them, that they might know that no one mourns or grieves alone when friends and community are present. This week, our community notes with deepest sadness the passing of Alan Magid. Alan was the father of Bess and Neil Resnick, grandfather and a great-grandfather. In South Africa, where he lived his entire life, Alan was part of a small group of lawyers, principally Jewish lawyers, who fought apartheid through the courts. And when Nelson Mandela was taken from jail and became head of the government, Alan was given a seat on South Africa's Supreme Court. He passes at the age of 96 after a lifetime of courage, idealism, and deep kindness. As well, we remember my study partner, Rabbi Stephen Sager, who came here to VBS numbers of times to teach us the poetry of Yehuda Amichai, and a friend of our family, Mr. Joe Mosk, survivor of the Holocaust, builder of Eretz Yisrael, and a kind and gentle man. Words of Kaddish, Yitgadal v'Yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, Ve'almad divrach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, uv'chayei techal Beit Yisrael, Bagalau v'zman kariv v'yamru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei olmaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudshav richu. Le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran v'yalma v'yamru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru amen. Please be seated. A very big thank you to Cantor Barron for leading up to you all. In 2 weeks, we celebrate a very special Shabbat. This is Harvey. Come on up, Harvey. Tell us about next 2 weeks from now, quickly.
Congratulations. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It's always hope when you see that. Always hope. So anyway, for 10 years, we've been honoring the veterans at this shul. This is the 10th year. This year, we're going to honor chaplains and rabbis. Our own Rabbi Sheldon Kirsch, who's served in Vietnam, and he's going to talk about his experiences there. Rabbi Barbara Spire, who is the chief rabbi for all the veterans in LA, all over LA, and she will share a lot of interesting experiences. And Chaplain Dov Cohn, who served in Vietnam also. So I urge you all, 2 weeks, June 4th, come with me and help us to honor our wonderful veterans. For if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be sitting here today, guys. So come and honor them with me, please. Thank you.
Jonah, come on back up. Stand there. Smile at your mother. Smile at your mother. Smile at your grandparents. Mazel tov. Mazel tov. There is I know your grandfather loves Pirkei Avot, so let's learn some Pirkei Avot. In the 3rd chapter of Pirkei Avot, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah offers a very interesting teaching. He says, in ein kemach in Torah, Ein Torah, ein kemach. Kemach is the Hebrew word for flour, the stuff you bake bread with. Im ein kemach, ein Torah. If you don't have kemach, if you don't have what to eat, if you don't have material support, then all the ideals in the world don't mean anything. You know this from watching your family. Because your family knows and has worked so hard to build a community. They have shown you through their actions that the ideals of a community depend upon the commitment and hard work of people. You wrote in a 5K to make sure that kids could go to Camp Ramah. Your mom works endlessly for the school. Your grandparents work for Camp Ramah, for Hebrew High, for Beit Shuvah, for the Jewish community in so many different ways. Because the ideals that we hold can only come true if someone steps up and says, I'll make that happen. I'll bring the resources. I'll bring the strength to make sure that happens. That's the way the world works. I wish that we could make ideals and dreams come true just through prayer. But prayer only does one thing. It gets us up and out into the world to ride in a 5K. Prayer only gets us up and out into the world to work for the things that really matter. Ein kemach, ein Torah. If you believe in something, if it's a dream and a value to you, you've got to work for it. You've seen that in your family. It's the other statement that's so curious. Im ein Torah, ein kemach. If you don't have Torah, if you don't have a life of the Spirit, if you don't have a soul, a spiritual sensitivity, a moral sensitivity, a conscience, then all the prosperity in the world means very little. That's a lesson you will see as you grow up. Right now, you look into the world and you see heroes. They put them on TV and on social media. People who seem to have everything. They're wealthy, they're beautiful, they're powerful, they're famous. They seem to have everything. And all of us say, boy, if I only had that. If I only was that beautiful, if I was that rich, because if that prosperity, if that power, if that celebrity, if that fame doesn't come with a deep sense of responsibility, if it doesn't come with a sense of purpose, if it doesn't put a claim on us, if we don't see ourselves as part of a bigger drama, then that prosperity and celebrity can destroy us. It can destroy us. The last piece of your Torah, the Maftir that you read, the Torah says to the people of Israel, Lo tasu lachem pesel. Don't make an idol for yourself. The better way to read it is, don't make an idol of yourself. If you think that you are the center of the universe and the whole universe is here to bow down to you, that will destroy you. You will end up terribly lonely, terribly poor, terribly unhappy, no matter how big a house you live in or how fancy a car you drive, or what newspaper puts your picture on the cover. But if you walk the world with a powerful sense that I am here to serve something bigger than myself, then you will find happiness and joy no matter what you have. That's the truth that the Torah you read today. You talked about your Haftorah. It's a great Haftorah. It's a great Haftorah. Here's Jeremiah the prophet. And he's in jail because he's been preaching that we better not fight against the armies of the Babylonians because they're going to destroy us. So they put him in jail for treason. And he's sitting in jail as the Babylonians are coming into the city to destroy the city. And God comes to him and says, your cousin Hananel is coming with a property deal. And you read the Haftarah and you say, what, God's a real estate agent? Like God's, giving me a deal here, a little insider information? But even Jeremiah realized what he was saying. Something more is going on. It's a bigger drama. It's not just about me here now. It's about things I do now that will change the world tomorrow and the day after. Ein Torah, ein kemach. If you have a sense that you are part of a bigger drama, that it claims you and asks something of you, and places a responsibility on you, and it gives you a sense of purpose and a sense of meaning and something to fight for in the world, a cause that is yours. And if you use all the power of your privilege, the wonderful family that has raised you, the community that sustains you, everything that you gather in the world in the service of those ideals, and you'll find yourself living a very happy life, a life that really matters. And that's the great gift of Torah, a life that really matters. You have been given a great gift, Jonah Waterman. You are the child of a wonderful family, the grandchild of wonderful families, surrounded by a circle of so much love and a community that has so much to offer. Now take all of that and go into the world and bring God's blessings to reality. You will live a life of joy and happiness. It's an honor to celebrate your bar mitzvah. I told your mother when you were born, don't blink, the bar mitzvah would be here. Amanda, don't blink. He's graduating law school tomorrow. Amanda, don't blink. You're going to be standing under a chuppah, staring across at another family, and crying like you are today. Amanda, don't blink. These are the blessings that God gives us in return for raising beautiful kids. Can I ask the two of you, and Emmett too, and your niece, come on up? No, it's okay. Bring her too. It's good. We've got room. Come on up. Stand with your son. Encounter you. Adonai panav elecha ve'asem lecha shalom. May God's presence lift you up to walk the world with purpose and courage and strength, and to bring to every corner of the world God's blessings and peace. Amen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'achiyanu v'kiyamanu v'kiyanu
lazman
hazeh.
hazeh.
Blessed is God who gives us days and enables us to see moments of joy. Amen.
Simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, yehelanu, 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 kol echol Yisrael, yehelanu, yehelanu, kol echol Yisrael. David melech Yisrael, chai v'kayam. David melech Yisrael, chai v'kayam.
Can I get all the cousins? All the cousins, come on up. All the cousins. All the cousins, come on up, come on. And he waited a long time for you guys, so come on up. All the cousins, all the cousins, all the cousins, all the cousins. Here we go, everybody come in. Here we go. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Hey, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat,
Shabbat, Shabbat, shalom.
Shabbat, Shabbat,
Shabbat, Shabbat, shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת, לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ובן בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. וביום השביעי, וביום השביעי, שבת וינפש. על כן ברך אדוני את יום השבת ויקדשהו. סברי גבירותי ורבותי, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגף.
Oh, we got challah today.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם,
המוציא
Lechem min haaretz. Yai la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. la 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 la